Good morning. Happy Friday to you. Welcome to Tisha Talks Live, the birthday edition, as you can see, sporting the birthday crown. Today marks the big 44, and I'm so happy to bring on my special guest. JPinner is coming on in just a few minutes. Just want to give a shout out if you are tuning into this live or catching the replay on Facebook, YouTube, or on LinkedIn. Make sure you say hi, ask as many questions. Definitely check in with us. We'd love to hear from you. Just excited to be here. And you know how I like to do it. I like to go ahead and just give some announcements that are coming up in my world of what's happening. A special shout out to our sponsor, Gateway Bank. They're out here in Mesa. James Christensen and his staff are simply amazing. You want to go visit with them, check them out. Amazing out here. And we have Social Connect Phoenix coming up. This is my last call. So if you are in the Phoenix area, you've never been to one of my events, you're like, I have to get there. This will be the one to get to, because as of next year, we'll be passing the torch to another amazing individual to take it on. So Social Connect Phoenix, October 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Courthouse in downtown Chandler. Make sure you get there. And last but not least, Connecting Through Community is coming up. This is on October 7th. And I'm teaming up with the House of Refuge out in Mesa. They provide transitional housing to the homeless. And we will be just doing some yard cleanup and getting the community together to do that. So friends are welcome, kids are welcome to come and support a local nonprofit. So as I like to do, I like to go ahead and have a little dance party to get us started and just ring in Friday. So I will be back with you in about 30 seconds. Welcome back, everybody. I see some Facebook love happening. I have Jen who's dancing in the green room and nodding her head. So yeah, that's a dance party that I can get into on Friday. And we are ready to kick off the show. Special thanks to people, like I said, who were tuning in. I've got a happy birthday, Tisha, from LinkedIn. Hey, thanks so much. I appreciate that. And as this person did, go ahead and drop us a line if you are tuning into this live or even catching the replay, because Jen and I will go back and take a look at what questions were asked and people that chimed in. So here we go. Jen is a gal that I met just last April. So we haven't known each other that long, but we've grown to be just quick friends and had coffee. And I was like, I would love for you to come on my birthday, because it happens to be on a Friday, and talk about one of my favorite topics. And today we're going to be talking about storytelling and the importance of creating stories to create your brand and impact and be memorable. So very excited about having Jen on. So let's do that. Let's bring Jen on, shall we? All right, Jen, you ready?
Hello, happy birthday. I'm doing this on behalf of everyone in the live because I know everyone wants to say happy birthday, but happy birthday, double fours. That's amazing.
I know, I'm excited. I'm like, what's the greatest gift? The greatest gift to me is living another day, and I've lived 44 years of them, and I'm just so grateful for that and feel amazing. Like, I think that my 40s, I would say, Jen, that my 30s, I've always said it's been like a hot mess kind of decade, but my 40s, I'm like, I think I finally figured it out. Finally.
I love this news because I'm just a couple years behind you. I just turned 40 this year. So
Yay!
I love this news for me. So thank you for the encouragement.
Yes, you are going to love it. Love it. Love it. All right. I know we have some comments coming through. So, Razzie. Yeah, Razzie was on a couple months ago. Thank you so much, sweetheart. And Royce, yay, one of my favorite peeps. Thank you, Royce. Always a big supporter. Appreciate you. And all of you again on Facebook. Thanks so much for tuning in to this live stream. All right, Jen, we're talking all about storytelling. And I know you even asked me to tell you, so we can get into that a little bit later. what some of my fun stories are, or what's a fun birthday story. And I feel like I have
Yeah.
so many of those to tell. So, and then Luis Melenda is joining us saying good morning to both of you, beautiful ladies. Thank you. Thanks, Luis. Really sweet. Really sweet. Okay, so let's get us started with one of the first questions. Why is it important to your business to tell your story?
Oh, this is the question that I feel like every single business owner needs to take stock and take a moment and really think about for themselves. Because ultimately, when it comes to your business, you're competing against lots of products and lots of other similar businesses out there. So, what really makes you stand out and what really connects you to other people? Because at the end of the day, if you're just talking about your product or your services, nuts and bolts and features and benefits, well, that can look like anybody else. You could take your brand or your name off of that copy, off of that messaging, and nobody would know who it is. So ultimately, it's story that sets us apart. It's story that connects us. And there are a lot of different factors with storytelling that I think a lot of people don't know, including physiological ones. So, this is something for me that like I'm super passionate about because I've always thought like what is it about storytelling that makes it so memorable to us? Why is
Mm-hmm.
it that when I hear a story about a business or something happening, I kind of lean in more? And
Mm,
really what happens is when someone's telling a story, there's actually like your brain waves are starting to go on the same pathway as that person. And it's a process called neural coupling. So, legitimately, you are creating a connection with that person when you're telling a story. So, if you're a good salesperson, if you're a good influencer, the best ones are telling stories behind the product or behind the service that they're selling you because they know that that is what's going to create that true, strong connection between the two of you. So, ultimately, if you really want to actually build a relationship and have someone feel connected to your product or what you do, you have to tell stories about the product, about your company. The list goes on.
oh, I know. And I mean, I love storytelling. You might have seen, Jen, just a little shameless plug that so in 2020, I was named one of Arizona's top 40 greatest storytellers. I'm like, I don't even know
Love
how to do that
that.
list, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to use it.
Take it.
I'm totally going to take that and put it all over the place because that was such a great accolade of why
Mhm.
storytelling matters. And I've written a couple of books about my stories, and I feel like it's always about the lessons that I've learned. And I've learned a lots and lots and lots of lessons. And you've seen that
Mhm.
I even do the lessons in my Lexus every Friday where I share a story and here's the lesson that I learned.
Yep.
And I'm amazed at how many people do drop comments or send me DMs saying, wow, that story really hit me. That
Mhm.
story is what I'm going to remember, right? And people do. They may not remember everything, but they remember parts of your story and it just brings it back full circle.
Absolutely. Like storytelling eliminates so much distraction. It helps like our brains actually focus, which is such a big deal. And I think, another aspect of it is that, as you're listening to that story, and congratulations on that incredible accolade, by the
Thank
way.
you.
I love that for you.
Me too.
Tell me how to get on that list, right?
I it was a surprise to me. I was Instagrammed it. I was like, "Oh, that is me. Oh, that's so cool."
But yeah, I mean, we're giving people dopamine fixes too when they're hearing and feeling emotions as they're listening to the story from you. So not only are they maybe hearing a problem that they connect with, if they say, "Oh, I want to solve that issue too. I have something similar going on for myself." But then when you've got the emotion connecting of how you felt after you achieved whatever that was or that lesson that you learned, now that person's getting a dopamine hit, which
Mhm.
for those of us that are fairly familiar with dopamine, I mean, that's like you just ate like your favorite candy. You laughed in a movie theater. Well, that's probably oxytocin, but you're releasing the feel good chemicals in your brain and it's very addicting. And so you say, I want more of that. Give me more stories. So I am not surprised that your stories in your Lexus like hit the way they do.
Yeah, no, I know. That was the best thing I ever did was creating those stories. So this is Razzie saying neural coupling. I love that. The human part of business. And I feel like a lot of the guests that I've had on, Chris Weir and even Robert Bostick Quick, not too long ago, we talked about how to have that human connection. And I feel like it's combining all of these parts, Jen. There's humor in it, there's the storytelling aspect, and a lot of the times it's video based too, because I think
Mhm.
that people, and I'm a big proponent of do things on video. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that is people can get a feel, they can see your emotion, they can see when you're crying, they can see when you're happy,
Mhm.
and they just connect with you on such a deeper level than opposed to here's just the written word, right? The written story. So that's my thing. I'm sticking to it, but
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like if you want to take it even another level, okay, it's great for the CEO or the main salesperson to share the story. But when you take it to the level of one of your biggest fans, one of your biggest customers or clients sharing a story about your product or your brand, like, hello, fireworks. This is where the magic happens. And this is where you really build trust with your audience, because we can say things till we're blue in the face. We can tell stories till we're blue in the face. But when somebody else says it, oh my gosh. So if you have surveys, customer reviews, you have testimonials sitting in your inbox collecting dust, you have places where people have said wonderful things about what you do or the product or service that you provide, get
Mhm.
those out and use them. And my gosh, just like you said, if there's video, if someone has taken video testimonial, get that out there, blast it everywhere, repurpose it, because that is absolute gold for your business.
Right. Yeah. No, and I love that. I've been telling a client that get those clients on video. So he's a realtor. And I'm like, if you can do that, if you can talk to them about like what was it in the process that really helped them and you were a big part of that, then get it on video. So he's trying. He's definitely trying. And but it's just such a great thing. I know so many
Right.
people, they get it, they have this fear of putting things out with testimonials and recommendations. And I was like, oh, no, 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 we're
Mhm.
using that. We're using that. Because, like you said, Jen, I would so much rather other people talk about the experience that we've had, than me talk about the experience. I'm going to give a shout out to Razzie because she was another one that gave me a glowing recommendation on LinkedIn. And I was like, I'm using that. I'm using that. Before we keep going, I want to give a big shout out to Bruce Carnahan, my friend, the guy in the blue shirt. He sent this to me. You guys probably know I'm like big into stickers. So he sent me this as a little birthday gift, vision board stickers. And I was like, I'm going to shout you out, Bruce. I'm going to shout you out. So,
That is so thoughtful. I love that. And vision boards are so fun.
oh, I know. I'm a big sticker girl. So yeah, that'll be fun to play with. Good. All right.
Perfect.
Okay, so Jen, question for you. Like, I think the hardest part for people is to figure out, well, what are the stories that I really should be sharing and what should I be telling? And I meet so many entrepreneurs, so many business owners that are really kind of guarded. They're very just surface, or they just want to talk about the business. And I'm always telling them, it's like 80% you, 20% your business, right? Like, let's not always
Mhm.
talk about your business and what you do, but let's have that human element in there too. So, where would you say people can really find these stories?
That's a great question. I think what it really starts with is you can reverse engineer this. So I think, like I shared earlier, it really comes down to what are your resources? What are the problems, the challenges, the desires or feelings that people really want from your product or service? And really start there. And I think sometimes if you just sit down and you write out a whole list of, oh my goodness, my product brings joy, relaxation. My product helps people to sell their home. My product helps them to feel just more at ease. All of
Mhm.
those different things. Then you can think about, okay, so what are some of the examples or people or stories that really align with that specific value or that specific desire being met. And then you can have just really, I think, a lot of stories. And you don't have to do this on your own. I really
Yeah.
recommend reach out to previous clients that you have a good relationship with. Talk to people on your staff or your team. Talk to people who are closest to you, who maybe understand your business, and ask them, what do you see about my
Mhm.
business that really, that you think is making a difference out there? And what's your experience with my product? And that's kind of a really good way to get the ball rolling, to really, I think, find a lot of those stories and bring them to the surface.
Yeah, I would say too that even just scrolling, like we're big LinkedIners, and I think a lot of the people tuning in are LinkedIn folks, but I find so many people sharing stories, so many people
Mhm.
talking about their past or again, lessons learned. And I think it's even key to kind of use that as some inspiration, right? Looking at other people's posts and kind of gleaning insight of what did they write that perhaps sparked something in you that you could then turn around and do something and even give them credit. Like, hey, I saw this from Jen. Oh my gosh, I just want to piggyback on that story that she shared. And kind of give
Absolutely.
your own twist to it. I put a post up the other day, and it was a little bit more storytelling, not a video, but just really a post, Jen. And it makes me laugh because I was talking to my best friend Gwen this week,
Mm.
and she's like, "You kind of wrote that post like you and Tim Tebow were like this."
I mean,
Well,
tell me
like
about that.
I know. So I was listening to Caleb, a Christian station, and Tim Tebow comes on, and he just, has the inspiration of the day, the devotional of the day, right? And he just talked about how these setbacks that we have can be setting us up for something greater.
Mm,
And I just took that in and I was like, oh my gosh, that's my inspiration right there to share some of the things that I've been through that were setbacks that in
mm,
hindsight really became great success stories. And
mhm.
it just made me laugh because she's like, how's Tim doing? I was like, it's like he's great, he's
I
awesome.
mean,
Tim Tebow.
and how aligned with your brand too, because you're an entrepreneur who's upbeat, energetic, bright, always sharing a lot of positivity. So I'm not surprised that you totally resonated with that.
Yeah, yeah. I would say that anything that inspires you, whatever you see, whatever you hear, I always like to
Mm.
say take inventory because I know a lot of people, I've been getting a lot of comments in my inbox lately that they're like, I love your content. I wish I could do content like that. And I'm like,
Right.
honestly, I just kind of pick things up here and
Mhm,
there, things that I
mhm.
hear. If I'm listening to the radio and it inspires me, I jot it down and I was like, okay, that's something I want to dive deeper into, like Tim Tebow's message.
I mean, and what a great point too, because how often does that inspiration hit us when we're driving in the car, when we're in the
Hour.
shower, when we finally slow down and literally only have one thing that we're focusing on in the moment? So it's a very good point, and maybe this is just like a busy mom, working mom syndrome, but I completely relate to that. And so I think, yeah, having that notebook or having that, notes in your phone or voice notes in your phone is so valuable, so you can just at least catch that moment, because otherwise, like, our brains are not wired to actually absorb and hold on to those things. That's probably why I'm obsessed with post-it notes. A little bit about me. I've literally so obsessed with post-it notes, and it's been since I got out of college that I had a girlfriend one time for my birthday give me a book that was all about post-it notes, and there are many, many uses for post-it notes, including making like happy birthday signs or games and things like that. So happy to report I have not used those skills at work, but but post-it my, post-it notes are my life and my brain, and so everybody should write everything down, in my opinion, because otherwise it's just gone.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I am one of those people that has paper everywhere, like notebooks. Like, yes, I have my phone, but yeah, I have notebooks in my car, notebooks by my bed. I mean, I probably could have a notebook in the shower, like just putting ideas down. Yeah, and I want to just bring up this comment. Inspiration is everywhere and more when we are in the present moment. Absolutely.
So true.
I agree. And this so true, Jen. I know that when I don't write it down, it doesn't come back. Yep.
No.
Yeah, it's why we just gotta seize the moment, right? Like take a second, write it down, get it out of your head. Because I know I, probably like
Yeah.
you, Jen, have total
Mhm.
mom brain. I can't remember what I did yesterday or what I
Yep.
even ate for lunch. It's it's just
Right. Well,
matter of
and here's like the beauty of like social media today is that when you get that inspiration, go live. Go live, film a video, do something and just share it. Messy is better than not doing it at all. So just be messy out there and understand that like you've got to be a disaster before you're a master, and it's going to take
Woo!
time and it's going to take practice. So
There
be
is your mic drop.
be okay with it. It's okay to be messy. You guys can go over to my Instagram and see where I've been lots of messy and doing all kinds of fun lip syncs and stuff over there. But ultimately, it's just about getting creativity flowing and sharing a message and figuring out what hits and what doesn't and all of that fun stuff. And I know that's a whole other pathway to go down when it comes to social media. But really, we're just in the land of creativity here. Just catch it and run with it while you have it, because man, that's to me it's gold. I'm going to keep using that word, gold.
Mhm. Well, it's funny because like my kids have braces, and even at the orthodontist office, they had a little sign that said something like, if you want to haggle us on price, we'll gladly raise the price and give you the discount. And it just made me laugh so hard because I like cheeky things like that. I'm like, that's brilliant, and it's like, took a picture. This is phenomenal. I would do this too. Like, you don't
Mm-hmm.
mess with someone's worth and their value, right? So yeah, just anything
Love the
that you
conversation.
see can be inspiration to then dive deeper. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love. I love that. All right. So where do you think, Jen, that business owners should share their stories? Because again, we're inundated with platforms all the time: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat,
Yep.
Threads, X. Oh gosh, that list just goes on and on and on. Yeah, and I think it's important that, I look at it as consistency, do
Mhm.
something consistent and be on a platform that people can really get to know you, opposed to going all over the place. But what are your thoughts on, where do you share stories as a business owner?
Well, I think there's two levels to it. So, of course, there's the professional sense when you're trying to really continue to share your brand. So, your website, making sure you have a solid story in your About Me page or your About the Company page, really sharing the story of your company and your mission and your values to really establish who you are and what's behind the product or the service. I think that your social media, obviously, very important. I would caution, like everybody else in the social media world, pick your two platforms or maybe even your one platform that is like your favorite spot or where your primary audience is, and just go all in on that. Don't worry about making sure you have it in all 15 platforms or however many there are. And of course, some of your content can cross pollinate. You can utilize it in multiple platforms, but
Mhm.
ultimately to zero in, maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's TikTok. Kind of just depends on your product or service that you're offering. So that's kind of the business side of things. But I think on the personal side of things, I think it's really important that if you are a manager, a leader in your organization, parents out there,
Mhm.
sales representatives, if you want to really build connection and have someone lean in and really listen to the message you're about to share, so that you care first by building the connection with a story. I think,
Mhm.
if we're going into a big meeting with a client and you're trying to sell your services, like take your foot off of the gas for a second and really think about, what do I know about this person? What is important to this person? What is important to this person's company and their values? And
Mhm.
how can I share a connecting story that really shows that we're on the same page here? So I
Mhm.
think that really, if we're talking about influence with the use of storytelling, that's a really powerful way to be able to have that really, go beyond just your brand or what you do as a company, but build the relationships that have the lasting power and even the retention possibilities for future. And I think honestly, we all want to have working relationships with people we enjoy. So if you
Mhm.
can make that kind of connection, I think that that really sets you up for success that's just even more fulfilling and rewarding in the long run. So I guess that's like the deeper answer of the question. But I would encourage everyone to always think about, if you're going into an important or, you know, uh, connecting conversation, to think about, what is that story or way that I can share a little bit about myself, that helps to build that connection. And yes, it takes vulnerability. Go read some Brene Brown books about that, because vulnerability is a superpower, and it's one that I've definitely been trying to lean into more and more.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with the vulnerability is a strength and not a weakness. And I think you can see it. It's all over the place. It's even on LinkedIn, sharing those vulnerable stories of the setbacks that turned into the setups. That is a vulnerable post of, okay, like I remember, so we're talking about storytelling here. So I started my business, Jen, 19 years ago around this time, around my birthday. It was actually September 10th when I actually was like, okay. But I was working for an ad agency. I got hired at another company. I quit my ad agency. I went back to the company and I was like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. And the guy puts on his shades and he's like, I can't hire you, but the future looks bright and sunny for you. Last
Wow.
words out of his mouth. And I was like, great. I just quit my job. I
Mhm.
was getting ready to work for you. Now I have no job because I don't
Right.
want to go back to my other job because it was horrible. And now I have to figure out my next step. And it is what prompted me to start a business because I said, I just got burned by 2 employees and
Mhm.
no more. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say Mr. Sonny's really probably did you a major favor, because I can only imagine what it would be like to work for him.
Yeah. Actually, you know what, Jen? I drove past his building. It's no longer his building. It's no longer his business. And same with the ad agency. They folded about eight
Mm.
months after I left. So I'm like, oh, well, sad for you. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
God works in mysterious ways. That sounds like it was a protective thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Another fun birthday story. So we talked about you being your big 40. My big 40, I went to Costa Rica. My best friend Gwen's like, I'm taking you and Sean and my husband and we're going to Costa Rica. And I was like, what? Okay. So best time ever. So much so fell in love with the country, took my kids back there last year. And now we're looking at moving. We're moving there in about 3 to 4 years. 2027. That's the target date is May 2027. So,
Exciting.
just fun stories like that of how did you get there? Other people have asked me, are you if
Absolutely.
I'm Costa Rican? I'm like, no, I'm not Costa Rican.
No, just have a passion for the culture and the food and the rainforest and, all of the things. Well,
Yeah.
and it's funny because, I think we all can look back on different moments that really shaped who we are today. And, I years and years ago, like, had it in my heart, I'm going to be a journalist. I'm going to have a byline. I'm going to work for a newspaper. I'm going to be that, like, scrappy reporter. And I did that. I did that at all the three major markets here in the Phoenix area, and I loved it. Um, I did not love doing anything cops related because I have a very sensitive system.
Mm,
Like, I internalize a lot of that stuff and it was
yeah, me
too
too.
much for me. So, but I loved writing lifestyle stories. I loved writing about people. I mean, I interviewed a Holocaust survivor and shared his story, and this high school that was basically trying to get him a high school diploma because he wasn't able to finish high school due to being sent to a ghetto and then
Oh,
ultimately over to Auschwitz, and then he was sent to Switzerland and excuse me, Sweden, and then he made it to the States. So he never completed his education, but he would come in and share his story with all of these high schoolers. And the high schoolers said, well, how can we pay it forward and give him his high school diploma. And so I was able to cover that story, both from before they were trying to get it and then when he ultimately received
Oh,
his diploma on stage. And, and that was for me such an incredibly impactful story to hear and to share, and to sort of be a little part of, at least sharing it with the world. And ultimately, I realized when I was in this journalism field, while I love this isn't a fit for my like future and the future I want for my family. And so I left the industry. I took a little job at a little marketing, well, it wasn't even a marketing company, it was an education tech firm. And they were looking for a storyteller, marketer who could tell the stories of these kids, these at-risk kids who were taking these programs to get their credits to graduate. And so I was like, okay, well, I can do that. That's an easy parlay of my skills covering
yeah.
education right now. So I guess suffice to say, here I am now, like almost 20 years later, doing copywriting and marketing, and storytelling is still my heart of every single thing that I do. And
Mhm.
telling the stories of our customers and telling the stories of our companies and where we're making a difference in people's lives. And I think that, we can all go back to kind of what that core value is in our life and how it's transferred over time to where we are today. And really our job now is just to share those bits of and parts of ourselves. Like nothing that I just shared is like just innately personal or sensitive. It's just who I am and what brought me to where I am today. So
Right.
um I don't think anybody should be fearful of that. It's just sort of picking out what is that one little negative change or that shift that happened in your life that you can share with the world that really could be the thing that somebody else needs to hear today. And for me, my personal mission is that, and vision is that I feel that everybody has a story and they're all worth telling. And I want everybody to go out there and share their story. And if I can be a part of that, even better. But if I can even inspire that, I mean, that's for me what my purpose is. That's why I'm here. So
Yeah.
excited to continue to share that and hopefully help other people come out. And because you just never know whose life could be impacted just by you sharing your simple story.
I agree with that so much. I have a lot of people have said I should write a book. Yes, you should write a book. Do you need to have an actual book on Amazon or in the Barnes and Noble bookstore? No, but even just having a blog, even just having this just
Mhm.
written words of like what you've gone through, or even just like you said, getting on a video and sharing parts of your story, the simple story, and doing it in chunks, it's such a big connector. And people just they don't do that enough. I know that's a big struggle for some, for sure. So I'm
Absolutely.
so happy, Jen, that you are a person that can absolutely help them.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Good. Well, I know that we're running short on time, so I want to give you the floor, Jen. Tell us how people can connect with you, where they find you, and leave us with something. What are you working on lately?
Yeah, thank you. So you can, of course, find me here on LinkedIn. I'm Jennifer Pinner. JPinner, I believe, is like the kind of handle there.
Oh,
And then
Jay.
you can, there we go, or Jennifer Pinner. Okay. And you can also find me on Instagram. I would say that is one of my more popular or active platforms, and that's at Hey HeyJPin, Hey
Oh,
JPin. That's like a little nickname I got a while ago. It's just a lot of people in the office will call me JPin because my name is JPinner. So you can find me there. I do a lot of things, from reels to posts, copy tips, storytelling tips. Really try to give a lot of value there. And then, of course, I share my life. Share a little bit about the little puppy we just adopted from a rescue, who is just sweet as can be. A little bit about my family, and of course, a lot about my journey with branding. So always looking for new companies, individuals to partner with. I love helping entrepreneurs, especially to be able to really capture and share their story. I think it's often the part a lot of people get stuck on. They have so many twists and turns and parts of their story. They just don't know where to start or how far to go. And so, with my background in journalism, that's really a strength of mine, is really listening in to really kind of think about who's the audience, who are we trying to reach, What are the aspects of your story that are really going to connect with them, and really take that into account as I'm helping a business or an entrepreneur to really like craft their company story. So that's definitely a passion of mine. So
Well,
that's kind of, yeah, what's going on and how you can find me.
good. Well, thanks so much, Jen. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I know some people will be watching the replay as well, because this is such great content. Jen, you just dropped so many nuggets of how people can really stand out in a crowd through their storytelling to create that memorable brand. So I appreciate you being here on my birthday with me and
Yes.
celebrating and doing a little dance. And yeah, so just so you guys know, Tisha Talks Live is taking a little bit of a break. It's been kind of hit and miss because I am a soccer mom. I travel a lot with my kids. And then I actually have some travel coming up that I purposely planned. So heading to a church retreat next weekend and then heading off the grid to Cancun
Ooh,
for a fun adventure with the family. So Tisha Talks will actually resume back in October. So stay
nice.
tuned for that. But just, yeah, so grateful to have all of you with us today. And Jen, always a pleasure, always such a treat. And we will catch you guys back next time. Have a great weekend, everybody. And thanks again, Jen, for being on. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Bye.